Hey, Jose, if you're having a meeting, the microphones aren't on. Can't hear.
Can you hear me now?
Try that again.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
It helps if you flip the switch, I guess.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
All right.
We didn't really do anything except the minutes.
We accepted
Yeah.
the joint meeting minutes. We accepted the Lincoln Selectmen minutes, both from July 1st. No, was it first? Yes.
Yeah.
And then the non-public meeting minutes, which we had discussed a settlement for the assessment of the Eversource property in town. We did it in non-public and didn't announce anything because PSNH hadn't signed it yet.
Oh, that's
But I was
fine.
just saying, since that meeting, they've signed it. So now I'm announcing we've reached a settlement on the assessment. Of course, PSNH has a very small amount of actual property in this town. And what was the abatement is 2,000. It was a small amount of money.
Yeah, it was like $2,200 was the difference between the two assessments, tax revenue wise.
Right. Okay. And was there, I thought it was 2,700, but either way, it was
Either
less,
way,
it was less than $3,000 is what we're giving back to them. But we just didn't want to announce it until they actually signed it, which they have. So that's where we're at. This gets signed. No, correct. This one needs to be signed. Non-public.
And there's still another set that I haven't signed.
Yep. Coming.
Here's the other side.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
All right, there's an agenda item, planning for future water use, secured water sources. This topic originally came about after the fire across the street to talk with fire department about plans for backup water when they're reaching the limit of what the tanks can supply to various areas of the town. They're not ready for that discussion at this point. They need more time, so we're gonna just postpone that. And with that, I think we can move on to the town manager's report.
Well, we do have a couple things that are in front of you. The first one is the 121 Main Street abatement.
Yep.
So RSA 7621 provides a prorated assessment for tax bill buildings damaged by unintentional fire. So the property at 121 Main Street only had 26 days of intended use. So after calculating that the days of usage for the build, the fire was on April 27th.
So 26 days of,
Well, the New Hampshire's tax year runs from April 1
gotcha.
through the following March 31st.
Gotcha.
So there's the 26 days.
Okay, thank you for that.
No worries.
26 days.
And they still get taxed on the land as is.
All right.
So it's just the building portion of the assessment. So we are recommending an abatement of $1,227.82.
Make that a motion.
You have all that in front of you?
Yep.
I'll second it.
All the math is right here.
Perfect. I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right,
No brainer.
we have to sign the actual state form, the proration, and then at least one of us, and I suppose I can do that, just signs the abatement calculation.
Yes, that's fine.
By the way, while we're talking about usage. By the way, while we're talking about usage. The cable TV did abate the money.
They did?
It did.
Good for you, Jack.
Yeah.
I couldn't use mine there. Who the hell Jack Daly? Well, so they did.
Wonderful.
I called and explained who I was and told them the whole situation. I said, the gentleman has sent you the fire report, the police report. They said, yeah, we've got that all logged in and you're calling. I said, yeah. I said, you know, you got to work with the citizenry here because you're going to have to come before the Board of Selectmen at some given time. So we wanted to be a positive experience. And so she said, I'll talk to my manager. Then the next day, talked to Caleb, told him what went on. He was home and he had the woman that he lives with. She called and they abated it that day. So
Wonderful.
Awesome.
whatever,
Excellent.
it's the right thing that they
It
did.
absolutely is, and thank you for taking the time to do that. All right, so that takes care of that. Do you want to talk about the bids yet, or hold that for a minute?
Yeah, we can talk about the bids. Why not?
Okay,
Let's go.
then let's do that.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
so at the last meeting, we discussed the, 4 bids we received for the, Route 3 water main, upgrades. And so after we, Weston and Sampson went through all the bids and they vetted all the, contractors and they called for recommendations. They are now, making a suggestion to the town that we, award the bid to D Felice Corporation in the amount of $2,171,115.
Where did they come in the?
They were the lowest bidder. Yes.
Lowest responsible bidder.
Weston and Sampson was familiar with their work. They've worked with them on other projects before. They have vetted them and said they're more than capable of doing the job. So
Okay.
they were just pretty much surprised that they were coming this far north.
Is that the one out of Drake, Mass?
I think it might be Salem. It's somewhere in Massachusetts. Yeah.
Um. I mean, I'm not familiar with them. I am familiar with a couple of the others, but that doesn't, I'm not in this field, so I would trust Weston and Sampson. I can read the letter just because I think it's brief and well written.
Mhm.
It just says that we've checked the references for DeFelice Corporation and have found them to be in order. Based on the project references provided, we have found that their history of performance and workmanship are acceptable. Accordingly, we recommend that the town issue a letter of intent to award the contract in the amount of $2,171,115 to DeFelice Corporation. Assuming that our recommendation is accepted, the town should sign and send the executed notice of award to the contractor and a copy to this office. Enclosed, please find a copy of the draft notice to that effect, etc. And they'll take care of it from here. So,
Sure.
um,
Before you make a motion on that,
Yeah.
I do want to discuss the construction services that will be needed as this project is developed, I guess, over the summer. Weston and Sampson has given us a quote for construction services contract quote to be on site and help the project progress. As we know, we have to work kind of interchangeably with or in conjunction with DOT on this. So we are going to need someone that's on site that is knowledgeable to kind of help us navigate any sort of issues we may have and to ensure that the project is being completed as proposed or designed. So they put together a proposal of 65 inspection days for the project at 8 hours a day, mainline pipe services, paving, loam and seed, test pitting, etc. They said they will do what they can to limit the hours on site early and late in the day based on construction activities. Typically, they assume a 9-hour day as a base. They also understand that they may be able to drop some days entirely if the town is comfortable checking in on the paving activities or surface restoration, et cetera, which Nate said he would be able to. An additional 30% of the project as office support time for the field, pre-construction meetings, shop drawings, RFIs, change orders, communication, record drawings, et cetera. and then mileage expenses, and a small contingency. So their proposal for that, the construction services contract is $95,000. So right now, the project came in under bid about $154,840. Oh, no, excuse me. If you take the project price that it came in at, the 2,171,115, and you add the 95,000, correct? We get to, let me make sure that math's. I had it at
216.
You come up with a number of 2,266,115. However, that doesn't include the original design and bidding contract that we put out with them for this, which was 99,725. They gave us a credit of $11,000 because they did not they had some unused time during the bidding and the original construction contract because of the time they anticipated they were going to spend a lot more time with the state than they ended up having to. So they gave us a credit for $11,000. So that leaves us with a total project cost, including the bidding and design and construction services, for $2,354,840. This is technically $154,840 over what we bonded. So
Say that number again. How much over?
$154,840 over the 2.2 that we bonded.
What do we have in CIP?
So I went to our CIP, and in our water infrastructure CIP line, we have just under $42,000 in unallocated. So that means it's not assigned to a project. It's in the unallocated line. We also have 112,867 for the Route 3 line. So that could be used towards it. And then there's that would cover it. And then we also have some money essentially in a miscellaneous kind of pumps, controls, et cetera line. So I think if we did a combination of the sewer CIP capital reserve lines plus the bonded, we would have enough to cover the total cost of the project.
Water CIP.
Water CIP, correct.
No.
Provided there's no additional overages.
And as old as those lines are.
Well, we are installing a new line essentially right alongside of it. So,
But this is gonna still.
oh, they're still gonna, yeah, we could run into, yeah, knock on wood, we don't run into big stuff, but
That electrical cement
right.
thing that was, yeah.
There was a contingency built into the project, you know,
Okay.
as a whole, so that hopefully would cover any sort of additional change orders that we run into. But that's kind of where the project stands at the moment, so.
Looks like we're good then. We just have to accept the bid.
Yes, I just wanted to put the total cost out there before, you know, just so you
No,
didn't, yeah.
Glad you do that. I'd like to figure out how we're gonna pay for it.
That's always helpful.
Just to make sure. All right, so we need a motion then to issue a letter of intent to award the contract in the amount of $2,171,000, $115 to D Police Corporation.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
thank you.
All right. So there's nothing here I have to sign. That letter just has to be the letter.
Yep, nope,
and
I will get it to
written.
them tomorrow and we'll get this ball rolling
They're gonna start in a few weeks, right?
in a few weeks, yeah.
Sometime in August.
Yeah, I think the contract said they were hoping they had to start, I can't remember the exact number, so I don't want to say it, but yes, they're gonna start end of summer, early fall.
And it sounds like the completion time should be, what, under 3 months?
Yes, I think they said 120 days was their max, so. Awesome. Moving on, Stuart Ormsby from Colonial Power, excuse me, who is helping us navigate our community power electric aggregation plan, reached out to inform us that that the New Hampshire Electric Co-op announced that as of 8/1/24, so in a couple weeks here, NHEC will reduce their rates from 10.161 cents to 8.648 cents per kilowatt hour. The current quotes Colonial Power is receiving for the other communities who are also part of the aggregation plan are in the 11-cent range. So obviously that means NHEC is giving us a better deal than the other companies that they are currently looking at proposals with. So they are holding off on issuing an RFP for Lincoln, but they did say they will continue to monitor the market prices for even further reduction and potentially in the future. Oops. Potentially in the future, that might change and they might put out a different RFP.
Minutes, sorry, I must have gone over the
Yeah.
minutes, yeah.
But as of right now, they are not suggesting Lincoln put their community power out to bid because we're getting a better rate with NHEC.
Makes
That's
sense.
actually good news, I think.
Yeah, it's great news. So that's good. Construction projects in progress, the library front steps. So when the library front steps were demolished, it was discovered that the columns were rotten. I brought some pictures.
They sent out pictures.
Oh, they did.
Something.
Perfect. So you've all seen them. Replacement of these columns was not included in the original quote. So the contractor has provided a quote for the additional work in the amount of $2,500. So I think that's a fair price to replace those columns, and it will come out of the library CIP with the remaining funds that we were going to take out anyways, because town meeting only voted in 30, and I think the project came in at 37 and change, if I'm not correct.
Right, that's right, because she had to take some out.
She has to take some out of her CIP budget, so she'll just have to take that remaining 2,500 out as well.
60,000 or something that the original.
I think the original one was
The
like
redo-
80 or
was a
something.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot, and yeah, so it seems to reason that there's going to be some overages there with something that was uncovered.
Sure. And she has plenty in that line item to cover the additional
Oh,
2,500.
good, fantastic.
Community building entranceway, work continues progressing on the new entranceway to the community building. The concrete forms have been poured. And backfilling has begun. Power and propane have been relocated. So they'll still be there for a little bit, but the project is progressing and hopefully we'll have new steps. A new entranceway with airlock entries here soon.
You guys
New-
are doing a great job over there too.
Yeah, it's really a joint effort. I didn't realize the undertaking it was going to be to get this done. As this project kind of originated before I came on board, I was just thinking, oh, we're getting new doors and some new steps, and that is not the case.
Well, I didn't realize how involved the 2 sets of ramps and 2 airlocks.
Mhm.
I mean,
Well, it's one. You're gonna go up one ramp in the center and branch off.
it
Right,
branches
yeah.
off, so
Right.
it's really, it's
But 2
one
sets of
that's
stairs.
big into 2.
Mhm.
Yep, and 2 sets of stairs and
And
all
2
ADA, all ADA compliant.
Fine,
Right.
okay,
It's
it's
a huge, yeah.
the amount of site work, I mean, all
Right.
that.
Which is
concrete
why
very-
it was kind of postponed for a while because the amount of concrete that had to go in there.
Mhm.
And the price of concrete went way up for a while and
Yeah.
it's kind of leveled out, so.
Well, and a big shout out to, Ryan Smith and Nate, taking
Huge.
him off his crew for the last month or so to kind of dedicate his
Oh,
time there because it
Huge, yeah.
could have cost us a hell of a lot more money if we weren't doing all that stuff ourselves.
We have got
So.
a great crew. We
Yes,
do.
very resourceful.
Nate's got a fantastic crew.
So that's moving along.
Excellent.
New police department. If you've driven by recently, you see that the cedar shingles and rock facade have been added to the exterior of the building, which I think looks great from the outside. It looks really nice.
I love it.
I love it too. And I'm glad we changed the colors and went with the full blue. I think it looks pretty sharp.
Agreed.
They hope to begin sheetrocking interior spaces within the next 2 weeks. So we're
Wow.
gonna have real rooms
Wow.
coming soon. Yeah, they hope by the end of July, they said that they'll be sheetrocking.
Oh, fantastic.
So
Great.
pretty cool. One thing that I didn't put on here, but I think we can add to it, and Tammy, maybe you know a little bit more than I do, is that the skate park is also moving along. I know that they're
Did you see the little ad?
I
blurb?
did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that was great.
so that should be happening in the next few months here, and hopefully by end of fall we will have a skate park.
Working skate park. How
Yeah,
exciting is that?
Very cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Rex put some loam and stone and
Yep.
dirt over there. There's 3
Yeah,
big
Casey went
piles
over, did some
there,
work.
they-
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, they said, what, the 1st to the 15th, I talked about
Mhm.
Jason and Kevin and Ryan.
so that's
Positive.
something coming to fruition. So that's nice. All right, moving forward, Pines Road Bonds. So we heard back from IAT Insurance Group regarding the request to call the bond. The process, as guessed, isn't as simple as processing a request. So, they sent a schedule of things that they would like us to provide them. Most of them I am going to be unable to provide. It's not a traditional construction project with change orders and pay apps and all that kind of stuff. Pretty much the only thing we have to go on is the notice of decision and the developer's agreement and stuff like that. So they also need quotes to finish the paving, quotes to finish the driveways. So I am working with Kevin Berry, who's the president of the HOA, to start gathering all those documents to submit to IAT. But I kind of made them aware that I didn't foresee us having a payment in hand by the end of the summer, just to kind of warn them that if they need to increase their special assessment to cover the cost and then get reimbursed, or however that works on their HOA side of things, to just be prepared for that. He did inform me that they are only doing the driveways. They're doing the driveways first of all the homes that are currently constructed, and then that they were going to wait to do the top coat on the whole road until the other two foundations are the other two, I guess 4 units, but the other 2 buildings are built. So buys us a little bit of time, but we're working through it, but it's a little bit more work than
Sure.
just initiating a claim. So and that is essentially all I have at the moment.
All right. I've got a bunch of stuff, but
I got a
yeah,
couple,
go ahead.
couple minor things.
Go to you first.
Number one, I thought the fireworks were great. They did an awesome job. Heard a lot of positive comments. I guess it was worth waiting an extra night for.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I heard a lot of positive comments as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And they were great. I watched them as well. I agree.
I did too.
100%.
I agree.
Yeah.
I watched them.
What was the cost? I know it's a shared.
15?
It's 15 and shared between Lincoln and Woodstock, so we both put in 75.
So that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody asked me that. Library you did, skate park you did. South Peak water tank.
Mm-hmm.
I know there were some issues with the Forest Service and moving it, roadways and what have you. Can you update?
Sure. There's not much to update, but I will say this. We submitted the 90% designs, I don't know, month or so ago. Forest Service has reached back out with some concerns regarding design, mostly surrounded, mostly based on the road and the relocation of the road, and how that essentially creates a greater area of disturbance on their property. And so we we tried to explain to them the reasoning behind the movement of the road. The movement of the road was so we could alleviate the disturbance of the wetlands and to fall in line with our AOT permitting. And so we have asked the Forest Service if they would be willing to sit down with us and the wetlands folks and the AOT folks to kind of articulate to them why wetlands wants us to move the location of the road and why it wouldn't work with the AOT permitting. And I sent that when I was on vacation last week. We had a meeting when I was on vacation last week. Brooke Brown, who's the Forest Service Director, is on vacation this week. Will is says, and Will is our point of contact at the U.S. Forest Service. So he said he's going to try to sit down internally next week and have a discussion based on our response to them, our comments back to them on the 90% designs. And then at that point, if they feel a meeting with wetlands or AOT is warranted or necessary, then we would try to schedule something to get kind of all parties involved in the same room.
Sure.
So essentially, they would like us to go up the mountain the same way we originally proposed, but after doing the geotechnical work, that is not feasible. And it's going to require us to disturb 2 major wetlands, which we would then be most likely having to pay a wetlands mitigation fee on. Whereas this new proposal of where the road is has much less disturbance in those areas. So
And the new proposal is the one we've seen that already, the last.
it's the one that I think we saw it probably about a month and a half ago. It was 2 months ago whenever we brought in that design.
Okay.
Yep.
Alex Ray has finally put in a permit for the diner.
I saw that. Yes.
Finally, people have been asking about that. Have we applied for any of the ARPA funds that are still left for any of the either water or electric? When you just mentioned, some additional funding for like Route 3 water main may be needed because there's $2 million left in the ARPA account for Grafton County. And I don't know, it has to be expended by 12/26, so that'll be no problem. But if not, we should maybe apply when we're thinking about something at Campus World too. But I know there's $2 million
Just from the county's funds.
from the county.
We haven't applied. They haven't really announced like an application process, but I could
I
reach
think
out
it's on
to,
the way.
okay. I could reach out to Julie, who's the Grafton County administrator, and see what that process is. Just so we know.
That's all I had.
You covered almost everything I had. The parade was awesome.
Parade was
Great.
awesome.
Great. We set lining them up and signing them in. We had 50 registered.
Is that a
50.
record?
It is.
Okay.
The most I remember, I think it was either 42 or 46, and it was a Saturday parade. This was a Thursday, and it was a gorgeous, beautiful, sunny, lovely day. And we had like 42 or 46. I remember going, oh my God, that's the most. And 50 is the most we've ever had. Well, I shouldn't say that. 50 is the most we've had in the 12 years I've been doing it. Yeah.
No, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a
It's
lot of people
fantastic.
lined up to see it.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
I saw you.
There was a lot of people like, I mean, I've been in the
Mhm.
parade over the years,
Yeah.
various times, and there was a
It
lot.
was good.
Mhm.
It was
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah. Great
Yeah.
parade.
Mhm.
Really great parade.
Agreed. Sid came home with pockets full of candy.
Yeah, you-
So.
I mean,
You saw it?
Oh yeah, we were at the corner. I screamed. "Hey!" We were at the corner of we were in between the visitor center and McDonald's. Like it was like the only shady part of sidewalk in the
Sure.
whole town. We set up our chairs, parked in the visitor center. It was great.
Great.
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah. No, I love this community.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I saw you,
I threw candy back at you.
Hilarious.
my sister was then almost across the street from you.
She was taking pictures.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I saw her. Yeah.
So that's.
And I saw Randy.
Waving out the window to her and stuff, so you were at the wrong spot for us to look to the right.
That's all right. The fire trucks pulled up real close and just showered a bunch of candy on Sid. So
Perfect.
Yeah, Carol Riley was next to me. It was great. It was
It's
good.
an amazing community and constant show up for that parade
Right.
is just mind blowing. I love
Well,
it.
and there were a lot of people talking around us because, Carol was next to me and we were kind of talking
Yeah.
to the neighbors, and a lot of them weren't from around here, but they come here every year for the
Every year for the
parade,
parade,
and
yeah.
yeah. And
There's
so,
a lot of people,
Yeah.
a lot of people that I've talked to that say that.
so, very cool.
I love it. That's all
I
I,
think having July 4th on Thursday is a great idea.
Can we just keep that right?
yeah. So now next year it's on a Friday. So it's gonna be a
Mhm.
crazy weekend.
So, anything else?
That was it. Thank you.
All right, I have a few things. One is at the last joint meeting, we talked about repairing that water line that's in between Lincoln and Woodstock.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure I understand the plumbing of it all, not that I need to, but it sounded like there's a line, a Woodstock line that comes up under the interstate and goes up like towards Rogers building, which is in Lincoln, but I believe the fire hydrant is in Woodstock.
Woodstock, yeah.
'Cause the town line is right there.
Mhm.
I believe it then takes looking at it, a right and goes towards Ben's property.
Up
Well,
in-
it's not Ben's anymore,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the hobo.
but it's still Woodstock. Correct. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So to me, that's a Woodstock asset that could, if it was functioning, greatly benefit Lincoln. If there was a fire at
Special
Rod-
fire.
Rogers
Or the
or the
visitors,
hobo or the
Hotel,
convenient MD or the hotel.
McDonald's, the.
White Mountain
community
Visitor Center.
Visitor Center.
It's in Woodstock, but yes, you're right.
Right.
Yep, anything right there. The gas
I would
station, the
like
gas
to-
station, yeah.
I would like to just see if we can get not even a quote, an estimate on what needs to be done and what it would cost. And see if we can, depending what the cost is, either get that into the CIP this round or get it ready for the budget process this fall. And if we can fund it in 1 year, fine. If we takes a
Depending
couple
on
of
the
years.
price, yeah.
But at least let's start that process.
I'd like to
And-
get Nate involved in that
Well, I think
conversation
he'd
too,
he'd
yeah.
have,
If I may,
yeah,
this ARPA grant, exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
There you go.
Exactly what you're talking
Could
about.
be.
And I think a joint, two communities going in together would stand a better chance than,
Right, because I think technically because the water line is in Woodstock
Yeah.
and the hydrant is in Woodstock, it would be in our best, interest to have it be a joint.
joint-
Yeah,
Have to be.
it would have to be,
Yeah.
right, yeah, we couldn't do it without it, right, yeah. No,
could certainly participate in.
Yeah.
oh, sure, yeah,
The plan, and that's part of this planning grant.
And if the ARPA funds could
Yeah,
cover a portion of it, that would be great.
I think anything we can do to help in getting that repaired is worth it to the town of Lincoln to do so.
should I reach out to Judy
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely. Keep Judy in the
maybe
loop.
have her see if the Woodstock Board of Selectmen would be interested in applying for this grant in conjunction with us?
Yes,
Let's find out what needs to be done from an engineer's point of view,
Okay,
like,
but are we gonna pay to figure out what's wrong with Woodstock's line? Or is Woodstock gonna pay to find out what's wrong with
They
Woodstock
may
line?
know.
Okay,
Reach out to Judy. They may know.
Okay.
They may have had somebody look at it and decided, well, we're not gonna fix it. It needs X, Y, Z. and We're not gonna do, they may know. I think reaching out to them first is the way to go.
all right, find out.
They may have had it looked at, they may not have. I don't. I mean, certainly let them know that we intend to help as much as we can.
I can do that.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
all right, a couple of other things. We talked before about getting an update on the sewer capacity. I don't see a rush to do that, but is that something that, I don't know if since Ray did it before, right?
Ray did it before. He did like the desktop with, I think, but he did it in conjunction with Weston and Sampson.
Was it Weston and
Yeah,
Sampson?
yeah.
It seems like the update, because that was done, forget what year it was, but it was only 3 years ago.
I think, yeah, 2021, I think it
Difficult
was,
to
yeah.
me to update that.
Well, all you have to do is look at what the
Exactly.
permitting has been with the planning board since
Right.
then
Right,
and just do the math. You know, I mean, they can calculate what all of these homes that aren't built yet, but have
Right.
been,
Bedroom size.
yeah,
right.
with the bedroom, they know what the standard number is to count.
Yeah.
for that.
Right.
I think it's gonna be less significant than you think it is.
I don't think it's gonna be
Okay,
significant
good.
at all.
Okay, yeah, because I think it's really, truly, it's been, 41 units at Fireside and
Right.
28 units and another 6 and an 8, it's probably been, if I had to throw a number out there, maybe like under 100 units is my guess.
Well,
Since the last
3
study,
years?
Since I've been here.
walk into that though.
Um,
Was Riverwalk already included in
I
the
don't-
first?
No, maybe the first phase, but I don't believe the second phase was.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't, we can find that out. Water study. Because I know it includes all the vested subdivisions that aren't developed. The Rapids, South Peak,
Yeah.
Right.
Forest
None of
Ridge.
that has changed.
None of that has
Nothing
changed.
else has become vested and unbuilt.
Right.
Other than
the,
single family homes or these smaller subdivisions, like, I'm not gonna say smaller, but
yeah,
Fireside,
fires, right.
the single family homes, 28 lots.
Yeah, there was 28 lots, there was a 6 lot, there was an 8 lot, Fireside is 41. I think there may have been another very small one as well, but but Mansion Hill now, though, Mansion Hill, it's another 25. I think the landing's included in the study. Yep, in the study. So I think it's really just the additional things in South Peak, but South Peak was already included in that
The
study. So maybe it is just Riverwalk and
You get, again, that's 19, but still there's some units here. Anyway, let's just
Yeah.
see. And the other thing I had talked about before is looking at the fee structure for
yes.
planning board applications.
Mhm.
And I know that that's not a quick, easy thing to do, and I know Carol's been busy, but again, I just know that
Permit.
a lot of those permits are much more complicated, and we should be charging more for the ones that are taking up a lot of staff time and copies and questions for our attorney and stuff like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right, the status up at the old hole for the parking area that we have the easement on is that there's a underground electric line that
Oh.
runs from the
Oh.
transfer station
Mhm.
over to the vault that's on the
Okay.
western side of that property.
Right.
And that underground line was not buried with the intention to drive vehicles
Yeah.
over.
Or park or, yeah.
So we need to determine what needs to be done to make that drivable and see what the cost is. I just want to know what the board's feeling on that is time-wise. I'm thinking that, number one, we've been questioned by one of the property owners up there, that people have been traveling over for years, that's private property. And it was just a question, but it's getting busier and busier. And in this summer, parking up there has been difficult.
I would be in less of a hurry to get that parking situated than I would be to get the path done. You get a path that comes up onto 112 to access that, and they could park along 112. That is not no parking. The cruiser used to park up there, routinely to keep traffic slow down. That would be my priority, would be that you get the path to come up onto 112 instead of over to that private property where it goes now. And that's going to alleviate some of that private property issue. And you can still park, we park right on Main Street right there, or on 112 up there. And then get to the parking. Yes, it needs to be done, but I think the priority should be in the path, getting that path up there first. Just my thoughts. That would alleviate the private property issue.
I think the path, I think we're gonna need maybe an amended easement for the path. Because I think, wasn't one of the issues with where the path is currently on the map, it's like you have to be a billy goat to
It's
get up
steep.
and down.
It's
it.
It's
Very steep.
And we knew that,
We do that.
but it
Right.
was
Asked,
Yeah, right.
did we talk with Bogosian about giving us a different, and he said, I'd work with you on it.
he would,
He
yeah.
was open, yeah, I think he was
Depending on
open
what
to
the
what
master
happens
plan
for the
that
rapids,
policy
yeah.
Ends
Yeah.
up being, he would be willing to negotiate.
He's
And
always been a willing partner
the-
with the town.
the
Yeah.
co-op was talking about putting that path between the transfer station and Route 112.
Mhm.
And kind of going around their
Mhm.
property and really hooking up with the old trail that's there.
Gotcha.
Both of those are
Possibility.
possibilities,
Mhm.
which is kind of why I don't know if we want to move forward with the trail because I don't think Bogosian wants to give any permissions or changes until he knows what he's doing there and gets it approved. And the path that's being used right now is not going to change a whole lot if we go in front of the substation from the new parking lot. It'll kind of go around and meet that
Kind of
trail.
behind it or in front of it?
It's in front of it.
It'll go along Route 112, between the Route 112 and the substation. They said that
Mhm.
the trail could go there
Okay.
and then around, sort of down into where people park right
They,
now.
yeah, they don't want us going behind the substation.
behind
They don't want
It's-
us behind it.
Too close.
Too close, right? They said
Okay.
they would have to create they'd have to heighten the fence, or they have to have so much
The
distance.
12 feet of distance before any
Yeah.
thing can be
Right.
around it, including a walk.
Yeah, they weren't fans of us going behind it
We're gonna have a parking lot.
and walk. Essentially, you're walking
And
up
it's the
112.
Of the path. And you think that's gonna keep people from parking where they're not supposed to be parking now?
I'm not trying to keep people from parking where they're
Okay.
parking now. I think the immediate thing is, for when that lot gets filled. They're parking on other places
Mhm.
that don't want cars, like Gordy's and
Oh,
Lincoln
gotcha.
Station. or the Lodge,
Hmm.
and I shouldn't just say Gordy's, but that whole
That
plaza
whole
Mhm.
plaza, yep, yep, yep.
and the Lodge at Lincoln Station.
It would just essentially be another dedicated parking area for the old hall.
And then, I mean, is there? I'm not that I'm opposed to the parking area at all. It needs to be done, period. Is the path gonna? Meet the parking area? We do the parking area this year or next year, whatever. And then another 2 years, get the walking path done. Is it going to meet, or is it going to be? You know what I mean? If we work with the power company and Bogosian to reconfigure where the path is gonna be, is it still gonna come out the same place?
Well, unless Bogosian lets us access it from the complete other side and go down that old roadish
Mhm.
area, it's gonna have to go in front of the transformer substation along Route 112 and then basically down to where the current parking
What
lot
about the
is.
one we have now, though?
what?
Right, the access path that we have now in writing.
Yeah.
Before Mark bought it.
Yeah.
Doesn't go in front of the transfer station. It goes down along kind of the construction road they put in, kind of alongside that.
Yeah, but it's very steep.
It's not
It's
walker friendly right now. Even if we
And-
cut down the trees,
Construction easement to build and maintain the path.
We do, right, and it's doable. I mean, it's,
Mhm.
you know.
anything's doable with a pocket full of money.
It's just steep, so we're gonna have to cut and fill,
Mhm.
stabilize. And then maintain that. Which,
Which is, I get that, I'm just, the power company is gonna give us a permanent easement around their property forever to get to the path that we've already made. I say we, that has been made for a million years now.
That was the discussion we had, and the hiccup was there's not enough room behind it to meet, I think it was 12.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was. Yeah.
Okay, but they would consider going in front of it, but their big issue is there's no sense talking about
That,
where the exact location is because they have this line buried under there that we can't park on.
Right. And we don't know what it's going to cost us and to reinforce that line for us to be able to park on it.
okay, so here's another question. What is it gonna cost us to determine what it's gonna cost us?
That's exactly,
Exactly.
yeah, that's,
I mean, if we're gonna spend a few $100 to find out what it's gonna cost to have to put a parking lot there, fine. If we're talking thousands to find out what it's gonna cost us to put a parking lot there, to go to a path that we might get an easement for, no, that's just foolish.
I think thousands is more realistic.
Yeah, no, I think that's foolish to have an engineer look and see what it's gonna cost to put a parking lot there. And then, so we spend $2,000-3,000 and they say it's gonna cost X amount of dollars. And then we don't even have what if the co-op says, yeah, no, we changed our mind, we don't wanna do this?
Hmm.
Then we've spent thousands of dollars for nothing.
Well, we have a easement to park there. And at this
Is it
point,
their, and it's not their land, do they have the easement to run the wire across it?
yes,
Yeah.
Because that's, to me, is minor, because we already have an easement and we could park on 112. Until the state puts up no parking signs.
Right. But we can't follow the same path as our easement.
We can, it's just gonna, I mean, put the money into the path instead of the parking lot. I'd rather put thousands into the path than put thousands into a parking lot. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Because we could park on 112. I don't know, that's a conundrum. I mean, I love the whole hole. We need to do whatever we can do to get permanent access to it. But I don't want to throw a few $1,000s away on something that may not. I mean, if the co-op can come to us and say, yes, you engineer this, you build a parking lot, you fix it, we will give you that easement, then fine. But we're not even gonna talk about an easement until you figure out what you're gonna do with the parking lot. Doesn't work for me. Spend a few $1,000s and then we'll talk. It's not okay. It just can't. I can't do that.
I think they seemed pretty receptive.
yeah, they offered some good solutions for
Right.
the path. Their hangup was like
The parking lot.
the parking lot's gonna be on our line. And we just need to protect it. It was their priority, not their mandate.
Right.
I don't think the path was a problem. Once we are going, but. I mean, at this point, it's not a current problem. It's just that at some point it's going to be.
Well, and then my question, and I don't know the answer to this, is if we build a path, what sort of rules and regulations are we going to have to meet? Are we going to have to meet ADA regulations on a community trail?
I would have to assume so.
That's got grade issues.
That's my concern, is that it is. It
It's
is,
a good question, because
if we get any sort of federal funding, we'll have to.
if we call it a hiking trail, you don't have to.
Okay.
We call it a town's owned waterfront access, we would have to.
We would have to.
So that's gonna be a technical, I don't, and I don't know who you asked that question to.
I don't know either. And like I said, I don't know, but I assume if we get any sort of funding, federal, state or whatnot, it's gonna have to be ADA compliant. So,
Unless it's a hiking trail.
unless it's,
I mean, it cannot be ADA compliant with the.
in its current
easements
location, no.
That we have now.
No.
No.
Because if you have to build a ramp, you're gonna need 10 times more property
Mhm.
than we have in right to use.
You need switchbacks and everything else.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, will
That's
be,
just not gonna.
it's a huge undertaking.
Right.
It would be. But I don't know. Maybe it can just be a hiking trail.
That's a good question.
All right. Let's just leave that on the side.
Well, no, let's do a little asking here and there without putting too much time and effort into it. And I mean.
I can reach back out to Ray Corber, because I know at one point Ray Corber and NHEC's engineers were trying to connect for Ray to get just, because without knowing what's in the ground, how deep it is, whatever, then we can't even come up with a soft cost of what it would cost us. So maybe I circle back with Ray and see if he could reach out to NHEC again, to see what information they're willing to provide us.
Again, I guess you want to get the engineer involved, but what about getting Nate involved rather than have to pay an engineer? Just to ask for the plans of the vault and the lines therewith. I mean.
Because we've already asked,
Well,
and I
shame
think,
on them if they don't give them to us. I mean,
Didn't they share those with Ray?
I don't know, I don't remember
Something was hooking up Ray with
the engineer.
engineer
right.
that had the plans. They were just gonna
okay.
give him
Yeah.
to Ray.
I don't know where it kind of went from there, though.
Circle
Alright.
back.
At least
wait,
first, if
wait,
Ray's
yeah.
got the plans, let's see if he's got them first, right?
This
Okay.
could be a mute conversation, but you
Alright.
could come back and go, oh, no, never mind. We were wrong. It's fine. Do what you want. That would be great.
Wishful
Make it
thinking.
happen, will you?
Okay,
Okay,
let's start there. Yep, Paul?
if you're looking for a line that's buried, I mean, the co-op has a thumper that they can use, and they're pretty right on with it. It traces it, it thumps it. They can do a lot of stuff with locating a line. I've seen them up in Black Mountain Road when they did this. They had this thumping machine, they called it, and they listened to it. It actually thumps in the ground, and it can trace the line pretty good with that. So if you're looking for a line, they can
Yeah.
find it.
I think it's more the depth of the line and what the line is currently encased in and what would need to be done to allow traffic to drive over it. That's the part that Ray or some engineer needs to look at. We need to get a quote on if we were going to use it for parking lot.
Well, if it's buried to the specs, and which is typically 18 to 30 inches deep, then you can drive over it as a matter of, I mean, regular highway traffic, 820 loading, I would think.
Well, the co-op engineer that was there that day said you cannot drive over this line the way it's buried.
Right.
I don't know what the numbers were, but that was his statement.
Mhm.
Yeah, without knowing how deep it is, but I mean, they can get pretty accurate. So I would think they could tell you that.
Well, if they were going to send the engineering designs for that line to Ray, I don't know if they have or not, but we'll follow up on that.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
All right, I got two more things that are kind of lengthy. Both came from the planning board. As the planning board representative, I'm here to present two things that were on our agenda that we discussed that were somewhat problematic. And the first one, I assume that's what you're here for, is to talk about the Franklin Street issue.
Stated at the planning board that my discussion in December was not about the stormwater management, but it certainly was.
Sure. Thank you.
Mind you, that time in December, we were having a lot of.
You want to go to the mic? and
Oh, yeah.
Turn it on, please.
Make sure you press the button. There you go.
Thanks.
At this time in December, when we brought our concerns, there was no flooding issues. Because he still had quite a bit of equipment on the property. And since then, he's been, he moved everything around. And when we brought those pictures to you on Wednesday for the flooding issues, and that was our concern in December, that something like this would happen.
All right, so the situation right now is a few different things. Franklin Street is a dead end street.
Mhm.
if the tax map is accurate, the end of Franklin Street runs onto what is now Marlowe's property. I don't know what the tax map is. Tax map 113, lot 10. And the one question that came up at the meeting is, does the town have a easement for that little short section of road? Because we don't know that, and
Right.
you don't know that, right?
No,
All right,
as far as I know, it's always been a verbal thing with Lottie Goodboo when she put her trailer there. She gave the town verbal permission. She would let them come and put it to the side because she had a trailer at the end.
You're talking.
And then she had a carport at the end where he put a driveway. There used to be a carport there.
okay, so we don't know if we have an easement, but either way, we do plow the road.
Yes,
We don't know if there's a plowing agreement in writing, but as you stated, it's been going on
right.
since that was back in the day when I assume
Right.
Dizzy.
Well,
plowed
the
it.
thing is if there needs to be sewage fix beyond the point of legally the town owning it, that is actually private property now. So at that point, if there's an easement or if there's something there that the town has maybe more official guidance to go further up the road, but right now the town doesn't. It stops right at, at the end of my lot.
Right, the tax, I don't know, the tax maps show that the road ends right at the end of her lot,
Mhm.
but it goes beyond that
Yep.
into this
Yep.
lot 10. And actually there's a driveway into lot 8 from the town road portion that's on lot 10. And we just don't know if there's an easement.
Right, on the, but if I went on the Grafton County maps and there's an easement for LeBrec Street for the turnaround, but there is none for Franklin Street. Nothing official.
So anyway,
Okay,
that's
question
just-
number one.
That's just a question.
Yep.
The greater part of the conversation was that these lots are being disturbed.
Correct.
There's been disturbance on them. And at the last meeting, we were talking about that. We weren't sure if the amount of disturbance had triggered a storm water management plan to be done. But with the pictures that Joanne and another abutter brought in, water is now running down Franklin Street.
I know. I talked to Ron Beard about it
Okay.
and Nate Hadaway. And Ron was Peter was out of town
Okay,
and Ron was going to go over to his house and discuss with him some stormwater management stuff, putting up some silk socks or whatever that may be. I unfortunately don't know the status of that.
okay.
Yeah, that was at beginning of July. I received your email
Yeah.
for that. Yes.
If we can follow up on that. and
Sure.
Even would Ron be available to assess whether that the amount of disturbance has triggered the need for stormwater management plan? It's one thing to put up a silt fence. It's another thing if
It's going to continue.
ongoing basis, it needs a management plan to keep water from running off that land onto Franklin Street.
Right. Because
Yeah.
before the land kind of like the water went more towards Connector Road, towards the fence. It had a little bit of a grade more that way. So that's why we never had any issues with water coming down Franklin Street. The grade was more towards the fence.
Right, so it was running away from Franklin Street.
Yes,
towards Connector,
Road, but
right.
it's a big,
Right. Oh, yeah. There's a
big
big,
Connector Road.
plenty of
Road.
room for the water to go. And I never thought of this. Did he need a driveway permit to put a driveway in there? If there was no official driveway there before? I mean, Paul had mentioned it at the planning board meeting and, you know,
Well, there was a driveway into lot 10, correct?
no, there was not.
Well,
She
how did
had a
get
car-
into her mobile home.
She had her mobile home was at the end of the street. She had her carport on the end of her, and she would get out of her car. She had a walkway. She'd walk into her mobile home. Walkway
There was a
from
driveway
Franklin.
there. There was a driveway going into the mobile home where cars parked.
Yeah, right in
Right,
front, right in
right.
front.
Right. And
Yeah,
that would have been prior to what, 1983, 4, 5,
yes,
when there was planning board, so she didn't need a driveway permit until then. So
gotcha.
that was.
Grandfathered.
Grandfathered in.
Okay.
There was one before driveway permits were even required, so
Right.
we can't require them to get one now.
No, no.
So, yes, there is
Okay,
technically a driveway,
At some point in time.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of those. Technical, like.
Yep.
Any of these mill houses all have
sure.
yours, I'm sure.
Mine was not a mill house. My dad built it.
Nice,
Anyway, at this
that's
point,
cool.
there is more water running down
Franklin Street.
Franklin Street than there has been. And if this is the case in the winter, we're gonna have some
I see. Yeah.
serious problems, so.
Now, there was also, the plow used to pull into Lottie Goodboo's driveway, or to the side, I guess, and
Mhm.
back into her driveway or vice versa.
Yes.
That they use, that was, they use her as a turnaround.
Mhm.
So if that's not available anymore, we need to address a turnaround for our plows.
Well, that's what I was thinking as far as getting an official easement like
Yeah.
LeBrec Street has,
I think,
you know,
the first thing to find out, is there a road easement?
Correct.
Because if there is one and it's
Sure.
somewhere,
Then
we'll
that,
see what but if there
Right.
isn't, then
And we need one, yeah.
that's an issue.
okay.
and the water. That's
The
a
water-
big one.
yeah,
And
AOT may,
so those are the two things related to that.
Right. And my thing was, if his property line does end right at the end of Franklin Street, but the sewer line goes further up, but it's on his private property, then Nate shouldn't be going over there and doing any work if it's private property and not town property,
right, over
correct?
the property line, that is correct.
Right, because he's already gone once. So that's why I was kind of questioning if officially the town road ends here.
Well, it also
That's-
depends if it's the town's main or if it's the individual property owner's line.
There shouldn't be a main going into someone's house.
I know, but we know things. We know how things happen.
Main, they go under their, because.
Okay,
Because I think if the main goes on to the property, I think it's still our responsibility.
okay,
Yeah.
all right, so it's just the
It would be
ones coming, the ones
TNs,
coming in.
Yeah, the individual
TN.
lines are the property owners, but if our
Okay.
water main went on private property, I think we would still be responsible for it.
Right, and
Okay.
lot 8, is that Leah's house?
Yeah, she's across the street. from
Okay,
me. She's the
so-
one that's getting the brunt of the water.
Right, I saw that from the pictures.
Yeah,
But I'm just wondering, like, I don't know where her sewer line is,
her sewer line,
but it may join the town sewer main on lot 10, on that.
I
underneath
think hers and mine,
road.
because Mr. King used to live there. And I think hers and mine are probably pretty much very close to, going to the main line.
Okay, I mean, it's just a question that
Yeah,
her driveway, I believe, is accessed from
yes,
the section of road that
Is
may or may not have an
private,
easement on. but
potentially
she has to
private.
go across that to get into her driveway.
exactly.
Does she have an easement?
No, she does
Yeah.
not, because her grandmother owned that property and then it got sold.
Right. Was her grandmother's when she built her house there.
Yeah.
Bernie.
So there was never, right,
Okay.
So.
Okay.
All right, anyway, that's
We can get back on that.
all right,
that.
Thank
I'll
you.
let you hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
You want those minutes back? All right.
Yeah, I mean, I knew I had discussed it, but I wasn't gonna get into, waiting to
Sure, sure.
back and highlight.
Good. Thank
Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne. We're right there with you.
Thanks, Joanne.
Thank you.
All right, Another thing discussed at the planning board was the hiring of a second engineer or engineering firm to do some third-party reviews or even some land use permit reviews, stuff like that. One of the things I brought up was what I had talked to you, Karina, about the RSA, and I didn't have the quote, but I sort of recited what I thought it said,
Mhm.
and I want to just read it
Okay.
to the planning board. Because this was news to me, but this is RSA 676:4B. And without reading the whole thing, the two sentences that applied to what the planning board talked about is the applicant, and this is someone who's coming in for a subdivision
yeah.
or commercial property, whatever. The applicant may request the planning board choose a different third-party consultant, and the request may include the name of a preferred consultant. The planning board shall exercise reasonable discretion to determine whether the request is warranted. I don't think I used the word request when I was summarizing this, but that is so any applicant coming in. So if someone's coming in for a hotel or a condo development, they can say, we would like such and such a firm to be the third-party consultant. Now it can't be the one who did the design, and it, the planning board can use reasonable discretion to determine whether that's warranted or not. But we had talked about Ray's getting, sometimes has been backed up in his workload, and if the developer comes in and requests it, they can do that. The other thing that came up was that is Ray able to keep up with the load, not doing third-party reviews, but doing things like looking at plans for setbacks and stormwater management plans and all of these reviews that he does for, maybe even an individual house. Or should the town have a second go-to or a list of second go-tos or what? And I just wanted to bring that conversation that the planning board had up to the board or to you. I know we have talked about Ray's load and that he sometimes gets overwhelmed. And we have a lot going on in this town. I mean, it's
Oh, yeah, it's never ending.
busy. Knowing this, is the route to go for us to look for someone else, or should we have a list of people that we've vetted and say these are ones that and I think it should go before the planning board, but these are ones that we've vetted and would recommend. And then hopefully the planning board, if someone said we want to use, number 2 on the list, that they would exercise reasonable discretion and allow that.
But didn't it, I mean, in my interpretation of that, sounds as though if I'm coming in for a permit, I could bring somebody else in that's certified that hasn't done my design, and you would accept his credentials or her credentials or their credentials. Am I correct?
Correct.
So it's not necessarily that the town has to vet my person, but my person's got the credentials, here's their certifications, here's their license. So consequently, you'd almost have to accept them.
Yes,
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 okay,
yes,
perfect.
Jack. But I think it might not be in the town's worst interest to have a few that they are confident in or that they have vetted themselves. No, but you're absolutely right. Mark could, not Mark, any developer could come in and say, I would like to use this third party reviewer. Would you accept them as it? And they could bring their credentials, or they could bring previous projects they worked on. They could create their own argument as to why the planning board should do that. That's well within their purview. Should the planning board have a couple names in their back pocket that they are comfortable with? It's probably not a bad idea,
I
and
I would
both
agree.
scenarios could work.
I would agree with that.
If it's paid for by the developers, why not just have one? Town has one that we use that we know is keeping the town's best interest in hand. And say, this is, we have Ray, and then we have XYZ firm. That if you as a developer want a second opinion, you contract with the firm.
Because this is state law, it says that they may request
At any time, they can request
different one than,
anyone they want to.
so I'm just saying,
Well, there you go.
I think there's two ways you go about it. Just say, okay, you could choose one and let the planning board know, and the planning board can say yes or no.
Right.
If they say no, there's gotta be a reason. It can't just be,
We don't know them.
yeah, we don't know them, or because we want you to use this one guy that
I got
does
you,
them all.
okay.
But like this conversation came about from a single lot owner who's building one house. So
Mhm.
this isn't someone who works with developers and engineers on a daily basis and, has been before the planning board 10 times. He's coming in and Ray's doing a third party review. And, if we had said, okay, here's a few of your choices, that might have been helpful to it. But then again,
I like the
It's really
idea of
not our vote.
having choices that have been vetted.
Uh,
And the only reason I say that is that, the recent, not gonna even, is that not everybody is honest, and we know that. And there are people that say, oh, I graduated from Harvard, Yale, whatever, and they never did. As a planning board member, if they bring in Joe Schmo from Idaho, and he says, oh, yes, I'm an engineer and I'm licensed here and there and everywhere, and here's my thing, and you go ahead and approve it. You don't have time to vet to know if that's man or person or whatever is who he says he is or her, and that they are licensed and reputable. And it's not just their cousin that came in, put on a show.
Well, I mean, they'd have to be engineered stamp plans. I mean, there would be some vetting in that sense where like they'd have to be, licensed in the state of New Hampshire, and their plans would have to be stamped with license numbers, and those can easily be fact checked. Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. They just couldn't come in and say, here's, like you said, my cousin Joe, and he's an engineer and he says it's good. In the RSA, it does say they have to be state licensed, certified, licensed. They have to have numbers. There is some vetting in the process.
Responsibility in making sure
I think
that
we have.
they are, or do we take people just at their word?
No, I think just like we do with the LUPs, just like we do with the land use permits, they fill out who their contractor is going to be. They fill out their plumber, their electrician, all their tradesmen, and we go online and we make sure the tradesmen's.
List of who we vet for that applicant.
Sure.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be as simple as that. Yes. Yeah.
And I think too, obviously, one of the things that we'd want to look, by the planning board, we want to look at is insurance. Errors and omissions and what have you, just in case something goes wrong, that it's not going to fall on the town to fix it. That, the engineer would have the errors and omissions and any other, insurance that are required, something like that. But I think that's a good idea to get a couple in, on the side, so to speak, and,
What do you think would work best for the planning board? I mean, it's obviously this is going to be a planning board decision, but I mean, what do you think would be?
I think that I should go back to the planning board and say that we've discussed it, read them this RSA. And then see if they want to, on their own, come up with engineers, if they want to get Ray to suggest them, if they want to get Carol to just do some research, of
Firms who do
firms
similar
who do
work.
this type of work in this area.
But you couldn't hold them to it, even if you have a list of 5.
No,
He comes in and
if they
says.
come in with.
Yeah, we could have a list of 5 and he could come in with number 6 that we've never heard of.
Some criteria with it, the name of the engineer and license number has to be submitted so many days ahead before, whatever, so you can vet that. See, I don't know how the whole planning board works.
Well, typically, the planning board goes through their whole approval process. You don't need I guess you do need a third-party review. As soon as you submit that application, Ray or someone else starts looking at the plans and makes comments.
Mhm.
to that. So as part of that application is when the
You identify the third party reviewer.
Gotcha.
applicant would ask
Okay,
for,
gotcha.
we
And then that vetting process would, okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah. I think either way, whatever works for
Yeah.
the planning board. I mean,
Yeah.
we can't say no. And even if we could, I still think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, and I think the planning board needs to be involved in the process and needs to be kind of leading that charge, as the state RSA says, it's not the select board or the town manager, it's the planning board. So, yeah, I think they, and to speak towards kind of Ray's workload, I think it's the subdivisions and the site plans in addition to the LUPs that tend to stack things up. I think if some of that was taken off his plate, we wouldn't see as much backlog.
yeah, I mean, the last couple of months have been unique in that we had the Mansion Hill thing on top of the fireside thing,
Mhm.
even though it got approved.
It
planning
had
board's
just
still going through technical review,
right.
and the
Upper-
28 lot
Upper Crooked Mountain, right? The upper, yeah.
Crooked Mountain Road, and then there was some details from the previous, 6 or 8 lots.
6 or 8 lot, yeah, Cedar
there
Circle,
was
and
the-
then now there's the
Nest,
Nest and their
which is-
8 lot subdivision or whatever that is. So it's a lot of stuff going on simultaneously.
To private home.
That's
Okay.
in addition to the building permits.
Yeah, Paul, I know that you were part of that discussion, and is there anything that either I haven't asked or hasn't been sufficiently answered to bring this back to the planning board?
The only question I have is that has there been a letter or any communications with developers or other contractors that have expressed concerns to the town about the turnaround of engineering or approvals or things like that?
There's
I mean,
been nothing.
I've heard a lot, but I haven't seen anything in writing, and I thought there was going to be something in writing, but I'm just asking now, have any of the businesses or developers or, expressed their concerns?
Yes, I have not seen anything in writing. I have also been told that something in writing was to be forthcoming. But yes, I've had verbal discussions with developers and business owners in town that share the same concern.
Okay, so yeah, they had that concern. And OJ, I think that, on that 676-4B, I think one of the things that's important is that it says may in there instead of shall. And also that under 676, that there's supposed to be a scope for the projects and a scope for the engineering that's supposed to be laid out by the planning board to look at what these engineers are supposed to be providing for a service. So that when someone else wants to hire another engineer or recommend another engineer, the town has a scope of services, which is what they need from their engineer to be able to provide. So that usually leaves out some. And then there's the conflict portion of it. I mean, it would be hard to do that. So I don't think there's anything wrong with having 2 engineers to be able to review in case of sickness, in case of anything else. Someone going on a vacation, someone, whatever it may be. It certainly helps the town be able to move things along. We've seen that just in the office staff when someone's out. So being able to make developers able to complete their projects and start their projects is a win-win for the town, as far as I can see, as far as taxes and getting things moving along. Thank you.
Yep, and I'll bring this to the planning board at our next meeting, and we'll start looking at ideas for a second, third-party review that we use. That was all I had. Sorry to take up the entire meeting. but- I mean, there was just a lot of discussion of planning board and I wanted to,
Well, we know the planning board's not going to slow down. You know, we know that we are just at the tip of the iceberg with kind of development, and we know that it 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 may, you know, it may be a time to bring in additional help, because we don't want to get ourselves in a position where
Yeah.
we can't keep our head out of water, you know,
Get ahead of
and
it if we
let's
can.
get ahead of it if we can. Agreed.
yeah, I mean, I know of 3 major projects that are um inevitably gonna come, and actually, the common man diner.
Mhm.
So 4, and that one actually they've applied, that application is in, but there's 3 other ones that are. I mean, I've just heard what's being done and there's no application yet, but it's gonna be.
Yeah, in addition to the steady stream of single family
Single family.
home permits that we receive.
So. All right, bring this and this planning board. That's all I had. Um. Public participation. Paul, is there anything else that you have?
Take that as a no.
Paul, did you hear me? If there's any public participation, you're the only public.
I'm sorry, I was out cooking. No, I'm fine, thank you.
All right, thanks. Do we have anything that we need to talk about in non-public?
I don't at the moment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Forgetting one thing,
What are we
What are we
forgetting?
forgetting?
we wanted to get the goals for the campus world or thoughts. for
Oh,
campus.
Thank you.
And what's there? Is there anything? we-
Yeah, that's,
Yes, the manifest and
Yeah,
the
and one. for
and
the-
capital reserve reimbursement.
Thank you. That's what this whole pile right here is
Mhm.
about.
What?
This pile right here, all, it's just all, I started putting together my thoughts on
Mhm.
RFP. I've not done as much as I had hoped to.
It's okay.
And I know you were away on vacation, so I'm hoping you didn't do it.
I didn't either.
But let's set a date. And first of all, if anyone has,
July 15th.
wow,
It's today.
is that a real date? I didn't.
Do we want to do?
It's today.
Yeah.
Well, I said, I've got on my list right here.
Do we want to do a work session outside of a regular board meeting, or do we just want to schedule a couple hour block at the next scheduled meeting?
First of all, on the 29th,
Our next meeting is the 29th.
we did a 4 o'clock work session and a 5:30 meeting.
I think that's.
I'm zooming in that meeting.
Can you zoom in? at-
Hang on, let me look.
Four?
26. No, actually, I can't.
Okay.
But I mean. I don't want to hold it up. Because honestly, I may not even be able to be zoom in at 5:30. That day is still up in the air. Because then our next meeting is August 12th. That's a month away.
Yeah, I don't want to wait
When's our next meeting?
the 29th.
It's the
29th,
29th and then the 12th after that.
Yeah, you can't do it the 29th, Tammy?
I can't.
What about after the 29th? At the end of the meeting? Have a work session.
If I can log in, then I could stay late, but I'm not.
Oh, you're not gonna be here.
I won't.
Okay, I'm
I'll
sorry.
be logging, I'll be zooming. If I can, that's still up in the air.
Seeing as it's a work session where we're just gonna like put words on paper.
I could do Wednesday or Thursday, like in the afternoon, or actually anytime.
What, this week? This week is too soon.
No. I
Okay,
mean,
I
This
have
week's
time.
too soon for me too.
29th. I could do the 31st or August 1st. Wednesday or Thursday, that'd be the soonest.
No, I'm out of town. The first, going on a schooner.
I could do the 31st, but it'd have to be during the day. Like before
I
5 o'clock.
can't do that. We can't get people at the house.
Okay,
What about next week? Is that too
I'm
soon?
not here.
Oh, you're not here next week.
Summer, everybody goes on vacation at some point,
I know.
you know?
What if the three of us send a list, in, like my list, I mean, it's, 9, 12 points, minor. I mean, I can send it in, to Karina. And, she can send it around, you can do the same thing with yours, and then, we can do it at your leisure.
Let's do that. Let's send any ideas, points, bullet points, whatever, to Karina. You compile them. And at the 29th, we will
Go over them.
discuss them.
Yeah, right.
But we won't make any decisions. We're not gonna have a.
We're not gonna have a formal RFP, right?
On the 29th.
Okay.
But we
Just hopefully create a possible draft.
hopefully we'll have enough for you to create a possible draft. We'll have
Okay,
a discussion about it.
Sure.
Do we want to meet early on that night to talk specifically about the RFP?
Well, Tammy's not gonna be
You're
here.
not gonna be here.
but that's
We
okay.
can, we
Yeah,
can
I
also,
think, sure,
I mean. Do you want to do 4 or 4:30?
sure.
I'll be here, so
Yeah.
whenever, or either four, yeah.
4:30.
4:30. That gives us
Gives an hour,
Yeah.
yeah.
That could be enough, okay.
The way you're aware of what's going up next to where they knocked the house down on Main Street,
Right over
No.
here,
you're not?
right over here.
Yeah, where they knocked the house down, not where the fire,
Yeah, I mean, they got a planning board approval. I know it's going in there.
the containers,
Yeah.
3 of them,
Yeah.
Yeah,
up tall, right?
Two stories.
Okay, I thought there was 3. But a developer approached me and said, I'd like to put between 300 and 500 in town,
300 and 500 container homes.
coming out of Seattle, Washington,
where they want to put them.
Campus World property.
Forest Ridge properties, possible.
How many's left to develop up there? They got a certain number that they can.
Yeah, 400 was the number, but when I was president, I believe, I don't know what's been
It's
developed.
definitely in the hundreds.
Yeah,
Oh, I know it's more than 100.
Yeah,
Probably a couple of hundred.
that's what I'm thinking.
but anyways, just thought I'd throw that up.
I'm not sure if that jives with the master of the development agreement.
At
And
Forest
that's-
Ridge,
I mean,
I don't-
container
I
home.
don't know.
They were looking into it. Yeah, interesting.
All right, July 29th at 4:30.
July 29th at 4:30, we'll continue we'll. But before then, people can send in their
Send in, yes,
info to you.
info to me and I'll put them in some bullet point fashion.
There was a motion to adjourn. We haven't adjourned yet.
Wendy Pepper's the chair of the commission. She's one of the county commissioners, Julie Libby is the graphic.
Are we done?
I think,
Yeah.
well, we haven't. Yep, 1 minute.
Can I see the,
Okay.
Yeah.
bills there?
You start.
No, I don't know Wendy well, being on the county.
I'll start on this one.
Town manager.
If it passed it, then I can say it. How was the vacation?
It's good.
Did you get away?
Well, we had Jeff's family reunion.
Do we want to adjourn? Do you have anything else to? She made a motion to adjourn. We just haven't.
I second it.
Oh, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We just,
We're done.
Any,
Um, Yeah, we were at Jeff had his family reunion.
Where was that held?